When comparing NBA legends and basketball players, it is important to know the rules, especially when comparing different eras. I wanted to go over some rules today, but realized there is much to unpack with most rule changes, and today we'll be talking about in the 1950s and 60s, the three-point line was used around some leagues across America. Some say the three-pointer was made in Puerto Rico. Nevertheless, practiced around late 50s. One of the first known advocates was ball coach Abe Saperstein, alongside Rios Medelos. They changed basketball as we know it today. It wasn't until 1968, American Basketball Association, the ABA, introduced the three-point line, with the NBA following suit in 1979. Though the merger was made in 1976, the NBA did not include the three-point line until 1979. 1979 was also the year Larry Bird was drafted into the NBA, asking many basketball questions. How much did Larry Bird even practice the three-point shot before he was drafted into the NBA? It is impossible to know, but there's a couple things that we can take from this. Now, looking at Larry Bird's shooting and looking at a shooting of, let's say, J.J. Redick, it would be hard to distinguish who was the better shooter. But what isn't too hard is understanding Larry Bird's stature from the three-point line at his time. It's pretty easy to say, if Larry Bird were to attempt as much threes as players are in today's league, his all-time threes would be a lot higher. He'd probably be a better sniper. When looking at a player like a Jerry West, it is hard to really dictate and determine how good of a shooter he is, compared to a player like a Kyrie Irving or a modern guard. But then again, if Jerry West were awarded extra points for shooting from distance, just based off footage, it's pretty clear he would be higher on the all-time three record, and would be definitely known as a better shooter than, say, a Marcus Smart. A perfect example is Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan has stated before he didn't want to practice too much on his three because making the threes would make him less likely to drive to the paint and get to his sweeter spots. When it was stated Drexler was a better shooter than Michael, Michael took it to shoot more threes in a game and made the 6-for-6 famous finals moment. It is actually a fact that Michael, Larry, and Magic three-point percentage are all up when they attempted the most threes in their career. Those seasons, it's not rocket science. With more attempts, more practices, it's more likely you would be a more lethal shooter. And that is why a player like Larry Bird, who is not high on an all-time three list, is still one of the greatest three-point shooters to have ever played the game of basketball. There are many players during his time, for example, Nick Anderson, Kenny Smith, Dennis Scott, and Craig Hodges, deserve to be known as the great shooters that they were, and some of the greatest shooters of all time. If a great shooter for his time, like Damian Lillard, only attempted 2 to 5 threes a game, what would his numbers look like? And without context, and not seeing him ever shoot the ball, how would you look at him as a three-point shooter? With Larry Bird only attempting about 3 three-pointers a game, and Ray Allen only attempting 5.7 three-pointers a game, compared to a player like Luka Doncic, who takes about 8.6, and he's not necessarily known as a sniper from three. Now, can Luka Doncic shoot? Of course, he's definitely a great shooter, but he's more of a scorer versus an actual shooter. Just look at his free throw numbers. So when people tell me Michael Jordan couldn't shoot threes,
get some help.
when debating between players' careers, it's important to do the research and understand what eras are they playing, what pace are they playing at, and how physical is the league in which they are playing. In Wilt's time, they couldn't be as physical as Shaq, and Shaq would have been in multiple fouls if he played that same way during Wilt's time. When mulling the physical stats of Wilt Chamberlain, it's pretty clear if he was allowed to play like they played in the 90s, he probably would look more appealing. He probably would have monster dunks like Shaq. Anyways, hopefully I got my point across. When talking about people in the past, it's important to know their limitations and also their advantages. Hope you guys liked the video. Assalam. Be sure to like and subscribe. If you like the topic, keeping it halal is important, so subscribing and showing your support would be huge. See you on the next video. Peace.